Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. All right, welcome back. I'm back, y'all. I'm black, y'all. I got the facts, y'all, on Backlit Cinema, the podcast. I'm your host, Zoe. That's Z-O or Z-O if you're outside of the United States or overseas, where you guys say Zoe. I'm Z instead of Z. You know how I'm fumbling. I'm messing it up. I know. I get it. These things happen. Anyway, we're taking a look back at the movies of yesteryear. This is our extra special 85th episode. It's extra special because on this episode, we're not going to be talking about movies. I have an extra special guest for this extra special episode. So, dear audience, may I introduce to you a renowned and fascinating woman who's been on the entertainment scene her entire life. I want you to put your hands together for actor, writer, director, and producer, someone who I have known for a very short time, but I have come to admire. Onyx Keesha, welcome to the show.
Hi. I am so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. I got so nervous that I forgot to press the applause button.
It's okay. Listen, in my industry, we can always do it again. We can always do a take two.
Right. And trust me, I do it plenty of times on the show, on the podcast. As a matter of fact, my current episode is late today. It's a Monday today as we're recording this. I'm supposed to have an episode out today, but it's not out because I'm busy doing exactly what you're talking about. The editing process is real, I tell you. So, the reason that we are connecting right now is because you have, like I said in your intro, you have been writing, directing, producing, just putting out content for most of your life. So,
yes.
And as a matter of fact, I actually caught up with your YouTube videos. So you hadn't put out any content on your YouTube for 6 months. So is there a reason behind that? Do you have another YouTube channel, or you latching on to TikTok? What's going on in that front?
It's so crazy because I get told all the time that I need to go back to doing my YouTube. And to be honest with you, it really has been just time. I moved across the country, I got engaged, and I started producing for television. And so it took, I had to kind of get some stability in those places, because as you can imagine, YouTube content is a lot of dedication. But I have a couple of videos in the can, and I am so excited to start releasing them.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing those. So as I alluded to your YouTube channel. So I was on one of those videos, you had talked about how you get started. So could you share with your audience, because it's a fascinating story. Like I said, you've been producing basically your whole life. You got it. You were like a grunge type filmmaker. It was like you was like just getting scraps and putting stuff together, and you were working since from a very young age, and basically from a lack of opportunity. So please just give us a sense of what you were going through when you were doing that.
Absolutely. Well, I started in theater, which the arts, content, and film, it's creative expression. And I was in high school and I wanted to act, and I was auditioning for plays all over, everywhere I could get to. I was auditioning, and there just were not roles for me, and when I say this to people, I'm not saying it as a criticism. It's just a reality. I was young, I was Black, I was a woman. Any one of those boxes, it was a difficult time. And I was auditioning, and there just were not plays being produced that I could fit in. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do my own thing. And I did not have any experience in producing it. I was young, 16, 17. I just knew that I wanted to act. And there were no plays that I could be in, So I took like all the money I had and I got the rights to a play called The Colored Museum by George C. Wolfe. I went to like the local Elks Club, which was like this organization. There was a bar there and they had like a floor upstairs where you could have events. And I was like, hey, I want to do this. They gave me space to do it. And I made all these like homemade flyers, just crazy. When I think back on it, I'm like, what was I doing? And I just put them all over the place. And the first day of auditions, now, mind you, I'm like, I'm going to do this play and I'm going to star in it. First day of auditions, the room is packed. I mean, packed. And it's with actors who are like twice my age, and they're looking at me and I'm looking at them and I'm like, it's go time. And so I don't know what took over. I just held the auditions. I did not perform in that play. I cast all these amazing people who also were hungry for content that they could be a part of. I put on the play. We sold out. I got a proclamation from the city, and that started my career in producing. From then, the high school I was at, they wanted me to do a big production for them. I graduated. They hired me after that. I did all of these organizations, and I was kind of building this theater career. And then one day I woke up and I was like, I want to do film. I was like, if theater can touch and inspire people, I want to be able to do that on a bigger scale. And film or TV was a way to do that. And I was like, New York is a little too cutthroat for me. I was in New Jersey. I was like, LA, too expensive. At the time, Atlanta was really budding. And I was like, okay, let's go to Atlanta. And I closed down my theater and my performing arts school. By that time, I had about 320 students that had gone through my performing arts school. I had grants. I was doing a lot. Closed everything down, got in the car, came to Atlanta, and my first month I did an independent film, and I have literally been working in the industry ever since.
Wow. I learned something from listening to you just now that I must have missed in your video. You had a performing arts school?
Yeah. Right now I have a so I'm on the West Coast. So it's called Empower Arts, Empower North, South, and West. But yeah, in my performing arts school, which actually like over COVID changed because I had to do so much virtually. It changed. Like I didn't think I could ever do that. But back then we did acting classes, mostly a little dance. Now we do everything from fashion design to filmmaking, improv, acting, special effects, makeup. We do it all. Wow. Writing, screenwriting, producing. I just did a pop-up class in Atlanta, television producing and, acting. So yeah, I always knew that when I actually retired, I can't imagine not working, like stop working. I can't imagine that. But if and when I am granted the pleasure of retiring, I will have a nice performing arts school in a little community, with dance recitals and performances. Like that's my comfort zone.
Right. So did you grow up in New Jersey or you just lived there for most of your life? Or how did that work out? Because in your video you said you were in New Jersey. So is that where you went to school there? That's where you got your proclamation for performing arts?
Yeah. I grew up in New Jersey. And I actually went back to New Jersey. I had breast cancer. And after I went through all of my treatments, I decided to move back to New Jersey. And I did. And I picked right back up. I did 4 sold out theater productions, and I had my academy back up and going. So I am a Jersey girl.
Yeah, well, you're in good company because Kevin Smith is also from New Jersey, and he is also a renowned filmmaker. So that's pretty awesome. You also mentioned fashion. I also saw that in another one of your videos. First, so the video I saw was, I think it was called something like 40 fashion or
Oh
something
yeah,
other like that. So you were
yeah.
basically trying on different outfits, and so does that mean that you're modeling um outfits for people over 40, or are you over 40 yourself? What is, well, how am I interpreting this? How am I supposed
Well,
to
I am over 40,
Okay, so
and
your face is lying to me right now because you don't, like, especially when I looked at the video, I was like, yeah, this, she's like 25, maybe maybe early 30s, like maybe she's 32 or something like that. And she was like,
yeah,
I'm modeling for 40 years old. Like, she can't be 40. She can't be anywhere
yeah.
near that. That's incredible.
I'm almost 45.
Oh my
Okay.
goodness. Well,
Um,
black
yeah,
black indeed does not crack.
it doesn't. It doesn't. But I definitely like went through this phase where it was like, especially when I was first getting ready to turn 40,
Right,
I'm
right,
like, what
right.
does this mean? I'm
Right,
like,
right.
do I have to like be different? What do I wear?
Right.
And actually through that journey, I realized that, and I guess my overall message in that series is that it's not about the number.
Right.
It's never about the number and what you shouldn't wear or should wear, what's age appropriate. I think women are taught what's age appropriate, like since they're like 8, 9 years old.
Right.
That's too grown. That's too this, and then we get to a certain age and it's like, that's too young. That's too stylish. Why are you doing that?
Right.
But it all comes down to creative expression. Like, just be you.
Well, I'm thinking that I feel like, as far as change and growing older, I feel like I learn more now than I'm learning stuff now that I wish I knew when I was turning 40. So you do have to eat different, what I'm learning now. So now I have to eat different to save my life, and you have to exercise more, and I have to get back into exercise because I'm learning, like, I went to the doctor's like, well, yeah, you got to eat less salt because you got higher blood pressure now, and you got to eat less cholesterol and that sort of, and you can't eat as much sugar as you can, because it's like I'm not pre-diabetes, but
Yeah.
I have to, but since it's in my family, I kind of have to watch
Yeah.
the sugar intake and whatnot. So yeah, it's a lot of stuff that I feel like I got to watch now, that had I paid attention when I was 40, I probably would be in a better position.
Yeah, I get that completely. But I think it's so interesting because when I look at people in my circle or people I admire, the people who are like, they're looking good, they're living their lives,
Mhm.
they're all over 40.
Right.
And it's like, when I was younger, I did not care as much about some of the things to feed my soul, my spirit, my body as I do now.
Right.
So I can see how, when you're in your 40s or your 50s, some people, that's really when they're like super fine and they're like super healthy, and I love it.
Right. Speaking of looking fine and looking well, one of the videos I looked at, I don't know if this was the same video, but it was you were going over glasses. You said you really like glasses. So the glasses you were talking about, were they prescription glasses, or they were just clear glasses?
No, they're prescription glasses. So, but I have an obsession with sunglasses, glasses, and I need prescription glasses. One of the things that has happened. So especially since that video, I started to go on a hunt for just like stylish frames that I can put my prescription in. But I also have lots of just clear glasses and sunglasses. Yeah, it's really crazy.
Yeah, well, speaking of prescription, so I recently got new prescriptions, and I couldn't wait because I wanted to try and buy some new glasses. It turns out my prescriptions weren't really any different. So let me show you some glasses. I know this is a podcast. If you can't see this, maybe I'll put this on video. But I got 4 new glasses. You're going to be the first to see them. So
oh yeah.
First, I'm going to try. This is more of a plain Jane, but I'm starting to get into round glasses. So
round glasses are the thing. Right. Nice.
So these are green. I don't know why I bought these because I don't really like green, but I bought them anyway. So and it's like what has happened is that so I learned early on that Luxottica controls like the eyeglass industry, and you have to kind of like right. You have to go online to get glasses that doesn't contribute to the monopoly that is Luxottica. So all of these glasses I bought online. So these are the clear flame. They got this fancy thing on the side. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, I can.
But these are the clear. I have an affinity for clear glasses. I must have a bunch of these. So
I was gonna say I love the clear. I love it.
Right. So now we're going to get into some fancier frames. These I got when I saw them online, it just kind of struck me. So I'm going to show you these. These are the latest glasses that I got. These just came in.
I like those. They're kind of dramatic, and I love drama.
Right. I was a little bit worried about these because they have almost like a cat eye type of feel to it. But I was like, you know what? But I like these. So I'm going to get these. So this is the last pair. These are my favorite glasses. I actually got some glasses coming on the way. They're in the mail now. So these are my favorite glasses. Is my what do you call it? What's the look I'm going for? Scholarly, I guess.
Yeah, I was gonna say, very intellectual.
Yeah, intellectual, sophisticated. So when I saw that on the video, I kind of got excited. I was like, oh, she's just as much into glasses as I am.
Yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing.
So I wore contacts for a while, but then I decided to go back to glasses, and I haven't went back to contacts since. But I understand in your profession, you kind of have to get into contacts a lot of times.
Yeah.
So let me look on my list of all of the questions that I have lined up for you, because like I said, I watched a couple of videos, so I'm trying to figure out what is the next question. I noticed on your videos that you're very comfortable in front of the cameras. Like, it seems like you've had a lot of practice. Like, I have been wanting to start videos, but I don't know if I'm completely comfortable in front of the camera yet, but you seem to be very much at home. So did that require additional training, or that just comes natural to you? How is your process?
I think it came naturally to me. I do have to be on camera or speaking a lot. So it's just like a necessary evil. But when I have to, I'm usually really nervous. But when I record videos, I don't get as nervous because I'm kind of just like, well, this is me, I get to be myself, and then my audience, they get accustomed to me as opposed to having to be a certain way all the time. But yeah, I'm really comfortable with it. I think when because I teach people how to, leverage social media. And so whenever I'm doing my YouTube classes, I'm like, the beautiful thing is you can practice and keep going. And that's what helps get you comfortable. Just constantly doing it, even if it never sees the light of day, just doing it and doing it. Yeah.
Right. I have a few of those not ever seeing the light of day videos.
Yeah.
Even most of my Zoom calls are not coming out. So yeah, I really liked your videos, especially when you're doing your tutorials or whatnot, because it looks like you're looking right at me. It's like you're talking to me. It makes it personal between you and your audience. So I thought that was fascinating.
Thank you.
Let me ask you a little bit about acting. Would you consider yourself a method actor, or do you use the method at all, or do you teach that to your student? How does that roll out?
So I believe my acting style is really a bunch of things in one. Right. But when I teach or when I'm coaching, one of the things that I start off with is that it's so important to recognize any thing you can pull from your character. I am a firm believer that, there's always something in a character you're playing. It can be the complete opposite of you. But if you dig deep enough, you're gonna find that. So I always start with that, and then we go into just the method part of it in regards to submerging yourself into what that experience is for that person, and separating from this is a character and this is me as an actor. Like you have to be like, that's my biggest thing. You have to be, but it really depends on the level you're acting at if you're able to truly do that. So I like to give some other skills that could help. Of course, if you're in a multi-million-dollar movie and you have a great salary, you're afforded the time to really, really apply method acting.
Right.
You have the support, you have the money, you have the time. But for a lot of actors who are just starting off or doing indie projects, they don't always have that time. So that's why I kind of do a hybrid of teaching. For me, I just get lost.
Right.
It's the best way. I get lost in whatever character I'm playing.
Right. I guess like when you have a smaller production, you can't always have your actors like shadow of cop if they're playing a cop, or shadow of fireman if they're playing a fireman or something like that.
Yeah. But when you are really passionate about acting, like that's part of the actor's work. Like I have done projects where, they wouldn't be able to make that happen from their end. But for me as an actor, I know what I need. So if I can't shadow, I don't know, a surgeon, I can go on YouTube,
right,
and I can get as much as I can possibly find,
That's awesome. There's always a way. Speaking of which, speaking of acting, speaking of your acting, I sampled a little bit of your acting in your film, Her. So what inspired you to direct this film?
So Her is actually based on the life of one of my closest friends. And I was with her when she went through a lot of what happened in the movie.
All right, let me stop it right there. So you're saying in the movie, you played yourself.
Yes.
All right. Keep it going.
Yeah. Well, kind of, it's like, I don't want to say that I actually said those things about the person.
Right.
But it might have been a little inspired by me. But I wanted to bring that film to life because even though it's a comedy, a romantic comedy, there's just some truth in it that I feel like a lot of women can relate to. And I feel like whether or not you can relate to the very specific situation. So I wanted to make sure that as a director, I was able to honor the true story of it, but also really touch on the pieces that are outside of the comedy.
Right. So obviously, when you're dealing with property that's based on a true story, you got some stuff that is true and some stuff that is artistic license. So I have to ask you, was the potato chips and ice cream, was that artistic license, or is that something real?
Complete artistic license. I would never.
Because I saw that and I was like, no, that's not right. It's
man, everything was wrong with it, but right.
So, audience, you could check out her on YouTube. And what I'm talking about is the main character is on the couch, and whenever she's in a heightened emotional state, she is eating potato chips and ice cream. And I just have a problem with that. There shouldn't be. Those are two things that don't mix. And I'm surprised somebody hasn't come out with a potato chips ice cream flavor. I mean, I wouldn't choose to eat that, but I'm surprised it hasn't happened already. So the main characters were Zai and Giselle, and they were played by two fabulous actors, Corby Nickel and Tony Fields. So in particular, Tony Fields, was she actually a model? Because she was very convincing.
She is a model, actress, painter. She is very much that in real life.
Right, right. And you find all of your actors through auditions. Is that how they came to this
Mm,
project?
yes and no. Actually, Corby, I scouted her because there was a specific quirkiness that I wanted to find. And when I held auditions, I had maybe about 30, 40 women come out and I just couldn't find it. So I went to Instagram and I searched a bunch of hashtags. I tell my actors all the time, like, do not underestimate the power of social media because I do a lot of scouting. And I went through and I saw a couple of women who I thought maybe would be good. I slid in their DMs. I sent them a link for a video audition, and Corby sent hers in, and she was perfect. And I believe this film was her first um film. She models and she does content. She did some other things. But yeah, I found her. But a lot, so I've gotten to the point where I can precast a lot of major roles. So when I get a script or I get a production, a lot of times I can first precast because we have such a huge database. But then I also post them on all the major acting sites, Facebook groups, things like that.
Wow, that's fascinating. Especially with Corby, I can see where you was going when you was looking for that quirkiness because I saw that in the film. It was like that was made for her. And what I really liked it, what really worked and what I liked is how she would go into like a fantasy mode, right? And you don't notice it. I've seen this technique used in a couple of films, and so it's like she's doing something completely outrageous, and then suddenly it's the real world, and she's back, and her style actually works extremely well with that technique. So what inspired you to use that technique?
Uh, I think it's real. Now, we might not all be as dramatic as, the main character. But I think to a certain extent, we have one foot in like the future or the fantasy and one foot in reality. And I think that we all kind of switch back and forth through that. It's just that it was very dramatic in the movie, but I think that's real. I mean, it makes for a good movie because it's quite funny. But how many times have we sat there and we visualized, even just meeting someone, like in a split second? Now you might be thinking about taking them to bed, but you're still thinking like you have this image of what you want, or you may be thinking, I'm going to marry this person. I don't even know this person. So I thought it was something that was really relatable, but it was an exaggeration. But I feel like we all do it.
Yeah, I do it, but my fantasies they don't come true like that. Like I can't technically telekinetically force choke somebody into submission or push their cars off the road. I can't do any of that, but I know exactly what you're talking about. I have definitely felt it. So please tell our audience the TV shows that you produce.
Sure. Well, right now I am a producer on the show Fatal Attraction, which is on TV One. It is a true crime show. I did season 12, which just finished airing, and I'm producing season 13 now. I have done For My Man, I've worked on Snapped. I also have a bunch of indie or straight to streaming shows that I've done. 3030, Only Girl in the World, lots of stuff. Right now, I have a couple of projects that are actively in the distribution process, and they will be on some super major networks that I'm just so excited about and can't wait to announce. But I've done everything from films and projects that land solely on YouTube to, projects that have major distribution.
Awesome. That's nice.
Yeah.
So this will lead us into the current project that you are hoping to put out in 2023, and that is the Crescent. Oh, it's not the. It's just called Crescent Gang. I feel like I need to say the Crescent Gang, but it's just Crescent Gang. So in this project, you are working with several child actors. And was this your first time working with such a large cast of children?
Well, it isn't, but it is my first time working with so many young people who are child actors legitimately, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah.
I've done some projects where I'm working with the young people and they're amazing. And, we're doing a lot of training and teaching. But for this project, a lot of them were working actors already. One of the young ladies, Mariah, I came off set and, I was home and I was working on some of my other productions, and I happened to have the TV on, and she popped up on my screen in a Target commercial. And I'm just like, wait a minute. I know her, I'm like, I just left set with her. So I think this scale of a production with so many young people, it is a first time, and it was a beautiful experience for me.
Right. So tell us a little bit about this movie.
Oh, I am ready. So, of course, I can't say too much because I don't want to tell the story, but I'm going to give you the basics. It takes place in Las Vegas. And one of the beauties of that is, of course, Las Vegas is known for being an adult town,
right.
An adult city. And we really want to show how this group of kids, they navigate Las Vegas. And the city is also for young people. There's tons of families that come here to visit. There's tons of things for kids to do, but we don't see that, So it takes place on a street. The street is the name of the street is Crescent. And there's a house, and this is a group home. And there are a bunch of kids who live in this group home. And they discover that it may not be their home for long. And this sends them on a mission to make things right. And so it is like a modern day scavenger hunt that happens. There's a time capsule that's found, and they are off on this mission. And throughout the film, we're able to see them bond. We are able to see them grow. We're able to see them trust themselves. And it's really funny. It's really cute. It's a great film. It gives you a warm feeling. When we were in the development process of this, we were looking at films like Goonies and Stand By Me and Annie and all of these films that had that feeling when we were younger of we can come together and we can conquer all.
Right. So is this a reflection of something that you may have experienced in your young life, or something that you've seen some other people experience?
Well, it's not so much a reflection as much as there are lots of things that we can connect to, at least as a production team. I think the group home aspect is one of those. We have some of our most influential people connected to the film, making this film happen, who grew up in group homes. Mm-hmm. And they were able to really give some true insight into what that experience was like, not just the bad, but the reality of it. For myself, my daughter is adopted, and we adopted her through foster care. And so that journey and that process was something that was always really sentimental to me. But on the flip side, the understanding that family and the family you create is not always your blood, and that those members of that family that you create are equally as important. they're equally as meaningful. And I think when you work in the industry, that's something that you learn. My best friends, people who I call brothers, sisters, cousins, they're people that I have worked with and built these bonds with.
Right, right. So, can we expect this as a theatrical release or streaming on television? What are we looking for?
So we're in the process right now of our placement. So I can't really say, but what I can say is it's pretty major. And yeah, one of the biggest releases that I've had so far.
That's great. I am so happy
Yeah.
for you. I hope that this is going to be such a huge push to your career. It's amazing to be able to start something at a young age and be able to, and it's something that you're passionate about and be able to work at it for your entire life. You know, it's something I always wanted to do, never got to do it, but it's amazing to meet people who are able to achieve that, you know, to live basically their dream lifestyle.
Yeah, I have this saying where I'm like, we're going to kill the notion of the starving artist. Every time I speak to a creative, like it's just like, and I don't even like to use the word kill, but that's how passionately I feel. Like we have to kill that idea. Every single thing that you desire to do at any age and stage, you can do, you know? And I have people who, like, even though I love working with young people and watching them start their careers and really see that they can and they will, I love working with actors or producers or writers who are like, you know, I went to school to be an accountant because I didn't think this was for me. And watching them take that first step on stage or behind the scenes and watch them transition into really walking in their purpose. Like that really means a lot to me. I don't know anything other than this. This is all I've done my entire life. So I don't know what it's like to not be aligned with what you feel called to. But I know when I see that switch happen, it is one of the most beautiful things to witness.
Right, right. So all of these the newer people, they're like in the golden age of entertainment where they've got all of these avenues with that they can use, and
Oh, yeah.
you've been in the game for years, right? So you've been you've been at it for a while. So are there any projects that you are looking forward to doing that you haven't done yet?
So do you mean like dream projects or projects in the works?
Well, dream projects.
Dream projects. I would really love to do something in the fantasy realm. Um I love, you know, elves and fairies and you know, I have this project brewing in my head that is centered around fairies, like good and bad, and you know, just a real fantasy lose yourself in epic type of film. I would love to do that and just have, you know, people of color represented in this film and have true character arcs with characters that don't necessarily look like, you know, you and I. So I would love that. I like that is something that I have been dreaming of doing. And then I really love, you know, reality television. And I know like for a lot of people who are like filmmakers and directors and do narrative work, like narrative TV is like taboo to them. But I love the idea of peeking into the lives of others.
Right.
Oh, and so I would love to produce some reality television on some people and some topics that, you know, are not just about living a lavish lifestyle or
Right.
not just about these like over the top problems, but, you know, what is life truly like for people who are in certain fields or going through certain things. What is the day-to-day like? I love that. I love to see things through other people's eyes.
Right. I've seen a couple of programs like that. One was for a tow truck company, and the other one was for the meter maids. They had a meter maid reality show. I don't know if you ever saw that.
No, but see, that's something that's so like you don't even think about it,
Right.
but I can only imagine what their everyday life is like.
Right. And you're in the golden age of fantasy right now. What is your favorite type of fantasy to consume?
Oh my goodness. So the whole Lord of the Rings franchise is a big like foundational piece for me, from the books to then the movies. I love like the Sword of Shannara, which was a book series, and then MTV did a film series on it. But I love that. My favorite was A Wrinkle in Time. When I remember reading A Wrinkle in Time. I love books, by the way, but I remember reading A Wrinkle in Time and getting so lost in it and crying, because I'm also super sensitive, but I remember crying because it wasn't real. And I would I used to cry, like I would watch Fraggle Rock. And I remember watching Fraggle Rock. I love Jim Henson. I love anything in the Muppets. And then watching it and then going to my dad and crying, and he's looking at me like, what is wrong with you, child? Like you were just enjoying it. And I was just crying because Fraggles weren't real. And I'm like, we live in a cruel world that like Fraggles aren't real. So I don't know. I hope that gives you just a piece of the type of fantasy that I really like. I don't like a lot of blood and fighting and guts and all that stuff. But in today's world, it kind of goes hand in hand. Fantasy, there's always some kind of bloodshed or something, and that's hard for me to watch. But I love going to different worlds and time travel and different creatures and all of that stuff. It's beautiful to me.
Yes, yeah, I am definitely all about it. And you're in luck because they have the Lord of the Rings. I think that's a prequel. Yeah, it's a Lord of the Rings prequel. I think that's on Amazon. And then there's a Game of Thrones that is also a prequel that's coming on HBO Max. And then there's also an Interview with a Vampire, and that is basically a retelling with new actors and whatnot. And that actually looks pretty good. I don't think that I'm going to have time to see all of those, but they all look fascinating.
that got me so excited. All of it.
Right.
Hello, everyone. I'm Beth.
And I'm Kirsten, and we are the hosts of the Made for TV Movie Club podcast. Beth, we've been friends for a long time.
We sure have, Kay, since before Rachel kissed Ross for the first time.
It's true. And since we share a love of all things TV, we decided to team up to review our favorite TV movies from the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
You don't need to watch the movie. We did that for you.
You can find us wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, including Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Deezer, and iHeartRadio.
And find us on our socials.
Join us in our Facebook group, Made for TV Movie Club Podcast. Follow us on Insta at made_for_TV_movie_club. Tweet us at TV Movie Club Pod 1.
Or give us a Goog at #TVMC Podcast, and you'll find us.
We'll see you soon in the clubhouse.
Well, before I let you go, tell me what's your favorite fantasy movie? You mentioned Lord of the Rings, but so besides Lord of the Rings, what's your favorite fantasy movie that you've seen?
Okay, are you ready for this?
Yes, I'm ready.
The Never Ending Story.
Ah, The Never Ending Story. Oh my God, that is so
My gosh.
cute.
Yeah, and so I rewatched it with my daughter a couple of months back. I am into it.
Right.
She only agreed to it because of Stranger Things.
Right,
Because the
right,
song.
right.
That's the only reason she even agreed to it.
Right.
But I'm watching it and I'm thinking to myself, this is scary. This is dark. I was like, I can't believe I watched this as a child and I was okay with it.
Right.
But there's so much about it that I feel like are just really teachable moments. And I feel like it shaped my identity. Like it truly did. That's my favorite fantasy movie. I did an interview last weekend. The topic was like your favorite movie. And so when I sent in my notes and I told them my favorite movie is Muppets Taking Manhattan, they were just like, what? But when we broke down that movie and it was like the blueprint for my life. Kermit got his friends together and put on a show and they wanted to take it to Broadway.
Right.
I'm like, that's me. That's what that idea to me has always been like, let's just do it, you know? And so movies really, they help to shape your identity. They help to shape your ideas, you know? And I had a great childhood and, you know, still television and movies influenced me so much. At least for me, it was in a good way.
Right, right. Well, perhaps we can have you back on and we can talk about the never ending story.
Oh, do not threaten me with a good time because I can go deep into the never ending story.
We should do that. And then also there is the Dark Crystal, which is also a Muppet movie. I mean, it's literally a Muppet movie because it's made by the Jim Henson Company. There's a series that I really enjoyed. It's called Farscape. That's also a show by the Henson Company, but it is upscaled for adults. It's an adult version of the Muppets. So
What's it called?
It's called Farscape. Farscape. It's one word, and it stars Ben Broder and Claudia Black and a very fantastic cast. So it's on Amazon Prime, I think. Yeah, check that out. At least the first episode. It's pretty awesome. If you like aliens and stuff and fighting, it's about some prisoners on an escaped ship, and it is very Muppet looking. I mean, it's scaled up to adults, as I said,
right?
But it's Muppet looking at the same time.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna check it out.
Right. So I want to thank you so much for being on the show and joining me here. It was a pleasure having you. Do you have any socials or anything that you want your followers to connect with you? I just so happened to find your YouTube channel. You didn't actually send it. I'm just poking around looking for you on the internet, and I found your YouTube. So do you have any socials or any other links that you want to for our followers?
I would love for you guys to follow our Instagram page at the Crescent Gang because I'm so excited about some announcements we have. And you can also follow me at Onyx Keesha on pretty much everything. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. And also, you know, I love to inspire. I love to be a resource. So anyone who's really looking to, I don't know, even stick a toe into this industry, don't hesitate to send me a message. I would love to just be a part of pointing you in the right direction.
Right. So you said you're running a school now, right? A drama school. So is there like a contact information for your school?
Yeah, so everything is under at Onyx Keesha. My school, it was called Empower Arts. It's now called the Academy of Arts.
Hold on. The O Academy, like the letter
O
Academy.
Like, instead of Academy, Academy. So it's called the Academy of Arts, and we're going through our rebranding. But I always post my classes on my social media. I will have some in-person classes happening in Vegas. I'm here in Vegas until December. And then at the top of the year, in-person classes will begin in Atlanta, Georgia.
Awesome. That is so awesome. Thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. This was so much fun.
All right. And trust me, I am going to try to contact you again to get you back on the show so we can talk about The Never Ending Story. That sounds is one of my favorite films as well. I especially like the weird looking dragon with the dog face.
Yes, the luck dragon.
Right.
Yes.
And Peter Falk as the grandfather. This is one of my first realizations that actors can, like, people aren't real on television. People can play different parts. It's like, wait a minute, what is Columbo doing in this story? Right? and for our listeners, you have the links. Of course, you can follow this show on Backlit Cinema on Facebook and YouTube. That's I have forgotten what my contact information is, but I will leave the details in the show notes, as well as my guest Onyx Keesha. Her details will be in the show notes also. You can catch us next week, and we're going to be doing The Running Man. Have you seen The Running Man?
I haven't.
Oh, wow. That's an Arnold Schwarzenegger classic. He has all the quips, all the stupid, goofy one-liners, and he says, "I'll be back," because he's supposed to. In the 80s, he was almost like he was contractually obligated to say, "I'll be back." And and it also features Richard Dawson. It's the first time that I realized that a game show host can also be an actor. I don't know if you know who Richard Dawson is. You probably grew up when did you know anybody that hosted Family Feud before Steve Harvey?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So there were a couple of guys that did. But before those guys, it was Richard Dawson. That's who I grew up with. And he was in this movie, and when he was in this movie playing a game show host, and it blew my mind. So yeah, the Running Man is a great movie if you like violence. If you don't mind a goofy storyline. So once again, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. The audience appreciate you. Thank you very much, everybody. As I said, next episode is Running Man, and we'll be doing that with comedian Shane Rogers. Thank you very much, everybody. Y'all have a nice one. And if you're going to be anything, be outstanding.